Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Bad Roommates. First up we have I Got Scammed Out of $2,500 by My Roommate by STL Gamerdude. This happened about 16 or 17 years ago. While I was serving in the US Navy, I had just made E4 and my friend, who I had roomed with during training, wanted the three of us, him, his girlfriend, and me, to rent a house together. We had all met during training and were good friends. Before we signed the lease, he told me that he had just received orders to deploy to Iraq for 10 months, which would be almost the entire lease. Because of that, he asked if he could only pay $500 of the $2,600 monthly rent. His reasoning was that we'd be watching over his belongings while he was gone, and it would help us afford the house. I agreed. After he left for pre-deployment training, the first month's rent came due. I figured I'd owe $1,050 minus what I'd paid for electricity and cable, which were both in my name. Instead, she told me he wasn't paying the $500 after all, and that we would have to split the full $2,600 evenly between the two of us. I had no reason to doubt her. I thought I knew her well and considered her a good friend, so I took her at her word. Fast forward 10 months, my friend returned from Iraq, and found not only had he been paying her the agreed-upon $500 every month, he had actually been giving her even more than that. When I confronted her, she came up with excuses. Isn't there a code of conduct y'all agree to? She claimed it was because I had the two upstairs bedrooms while she had the master bedroom, or because I had the second garage space, even though my sedan didn't fit in the short driveway while her Jeep did. Those arguments might have made sense if we'd agreed to them beforehand, but we never had. The reality is that she lied to me and pocketed about $2,500 that should have reduced my share of the rent. I've always wondered whether you should have done that and reported the incident to your superiors. Small claims court and won. I had some text messages that supported my side, but I was young, angry, and just wanted to be... That's not where I thought that sentence was going. But just wanted to be done with the whole situation. I chalked it up as an expensive lesson and moved on. Looking back now, though, I sometimes wonder if I let it go too easily. She probably could have used being held accountable. It would have been a valuable lesson for her to learn, and hopefully, I doubt you're still friends with her now, hopefully she matured at some point. That's someone that we're expecting to defend U.S. interests in the Navy. If she didn't shape up, she certainly would have been drummed out of the service, so hopefully she did eventually mature. However, if she had matured and learned the kind of lesson I'm sure we're all hoping that she would have learned, she'd have sent you the money by now. Fucking people. Roommates are condescending and unkind by Hikikomori. I just moved to Spain last week to study abroad for summer as part of my degree. My roommates are in their late 20s doing STEM PhDs. I'm 24, almost 25, studying languages after previously studying astrophysics. I'm impressed. There's barely an age gap, but every indication makes me feel so small. It's never one massive thing, it's just loads of little things that keep happening. For example, if I ask a question, I get this really patronizing, yeah, or, well, obviously, tone, like I'm stupid for not knowing something about a country I literally moved to a week ago. I'm studying to become an interpreter, and I speak Spanish to a high level. Es bueno. But whenever I speak Spanish with them, they suddenly act like they can't understand me. Locals have no issue with my Spanish, though. They call me little girl or the kid, pat me on the head because I'm short. That's an invitation to a smack in the mouth, isn't it? Again, weird, I'm a grown woman, and if I disagree with them, they'll explain that I'll understand when I'm older. How old are these creatures? You're 24, almost 25. You don't mention their ages. Late 20s. All right, so yeah, I mean, you're in the same age group. I mean, crying out loud. Pretty much the same generation. They call me an alcoholic because I had one beer watching the World Cup final. We're in Spain. Laughed about me being broke, even though it's because of the way my study abroad loan is paid. Make comments like, "She's alive," if I come out of my room later because I take evening classes and study into the night. They keep giving me unsolicited advice about my diet, body routine, because unlike them, I don't wake up at 4 a.m. to run 10K each morning, and sue me, sometimes I want a little jamon or tortilla. Sometimes put the jamon in the tortilla. One of my roommates goes through my grocery shopping, what the fuck, and kitchen trash and gives me feedback on what's healthy. Tells me he knows what I eat every day, as stalkers do. What would be a better substitute? Shutting the fuck up. Again, unsolicited. I must add, I'm literally not overweight. Wouldn't matter if you were. What gets me the most is the way they look at each other and laugh after I say something. Or sometimes they say something and they just don't respond at all. I know none of the things sound that serious on their own, but together they make me feel really small and embarrassed. I've started second-guessing everything I say because I'm expecting to be spoken to like I'm an idiot. Also, I can't leave. I've already paid the rent. And until the rest of my university loans come through, I genuinely can't afford to move somewhere else. I'm also too broke to spend all day in cafes just to get out of the flat. Libraries. So I end up hiding in my room. But then I just feel really, really, really lonely. I've only been here a week, and I feel so isolated. I've been wondering if I've done something to make them dislike me. Oh no, there's a reason for how they're acting. I think I know. I don't understand why they treat me like this, like I'm overreacting. Anyone else find this upsetting? They have an inferiority complex, I suspect, because they're trying way too hard to belittle you, almost as if they're intimidated by you. Yeah, really, I mean, studying astrophysics, languages, you sound like quite an impressive person, especially for such a, well, not a young age, you're an adult, but you're 24. I mean, it could definitely be that. It could definitely be that they'll feel that I mean, calling you a little girl, for heaven's sake. I mean, you'd never say that to someone unless, I mean, the condescension, the way they're treating you, it definitely sounds that they might feel, in some level, that in order to accommodate for the fact that you are such an accomplished and confident person, that they need to put you down to feel superior themselves. It certainly has vibes of that. Or, I mean, I could be off base. It could just be a couple of assholes. Certainly a possibility. As for them, I'd get out, see if there's any free museums in the area, libraries, places you can go and just hang out for a while to get a bit of a breather from the bullying, because that's what it is here. I mean, and honestly, the ages you're at, that should not be happening. It's essentially just a matter of riding it out until your loan comes through and you're able to afford to move somewhere else. They'll be shocked when you do, but you're in a situation now where you need to just essentially blank them as people. Don't even respond when they're condescending to you. If they're going through your trash, just go, it's weird. Are you feeling especially hungry this week that you need to go rooting through the trash? We have food in the cupboards. Hey, you should have said I'd be happy to pick something up for you if you're low on funds and you can't afford to feed yourself, that sort of thing. Now, you're looking through the comments here, you say you hate conflict. Yeah, and that's how bullies thrive. I mean, going through the comments, you mentioned you hate conflict. Most of us do, but we learn at some point in our lives that if we don't stand up for ourselves, and you don't have to be antagonistic about it, but bullies will thrive if you don't. You don't even need to get in their face about it. Just, what an odd thing to say will do a lot to an ego. Trust me, I've done this to people who've acted weird. They get really upset by it. sarcasm is a great defender, and I would just keep standing up for yourself. Don't let them get away with it until you can move out. And then you don't have to talk to them again. And that is, of course, assuming they're saying something that absolutely requires a response. Because there's no reason these people really need to exist in your world. You're just sharing a space together. Temporarily. Very, very temporarily. Okay, story number 3. Story number 3. Nightmare roommates, please help me determine what I might be doing, or if it's mainly them causing issues, by Southern Device 5814. Today's incident just makes me so upset that I can't put into words how excited I am for them to move out. I do like it when a story starts with a happy ending. Nothing incredibly big happened, but a bunch of little stuff just eating at me. Today I go downstairs to do laundry because I'm going on a trip for a week in 3 days and I need to do my laundry. When I went downstairs, my roommate was doing her laundry already. No big deal, it's only 11:30, and it looks like they've done 2 loads already. Should be done soon, so I ask her, can I change these clothes out? They've been done for a minute, which I know because I was standing there waiting for my DoorDash to come. She snaps at me that she's not done. Okay, fine, I'll check back later. So I give it a few hours and go back downstairs to check again, 3:45-ish. Nope, she's still doing laundry. Filthy bitch. So I turn around and go back upstairs, a little pissed because they've done this before. Hogging the laundry machines when I need to do laundry. Once they held up both machines for 6 consecutive hours after I asked if I could wash clothes. So I go back upstairs, stomping a little because I'm sick of their petty behavior. And one of them turns to her cat and baby talks it. Stomp, 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 stomp. Then when I'm halfway upstairs, she goes loud enough for me and the other roommate, who is her half-sister, to hear, Fee, fi, fo, fum. And then cackle to one another. I don't want to give them the power or the satisfaction of admitting it, but I did cry over the comment. I mean, quite frankly, you should have ground their bones to make your bread. That'd have taught them. I know it's easy to say just ignore them, but I am very sensitive about my weight, and mocking me when you know I can hear you is such a dick move. Because I know this looks very small and petty to get upset about, let me list the other stuff they've done in the 2 months I've lived with them. Got genuinely angry with me when I was moving into the apartment and sorting myself for a week because I told them I would be in and out all week due to work, moving, storage, and thought the amount of time I spent at the place I pay to live was too much by their standards. They don't get a say? Told me I'm not allowed to touch their TV in the living room because they're OCD about it, then move out of the fucking living room. Which was fine to me, however. Shared space. Communal area. Hose. They got disgusted when I touched a blanket on the couch in the living room and washed it, then told me that if I'm to sit on the couch, I need to sit with my feet on the floor, taking up one cushion, or find somewhere else to sit. Called me a bitch because I had moved my appliances back to the counter from where they had stuffed them in my cabinet while cleaning. Which I find funny because they had just thrown a fit about the blanket and then turned around and touched my stuff. I hope you have disinfectant wipes for it. Ooh, they sound nasty. They also used my dish rack I brought for my dishes and meticulously picked my dishes out from the sink to put on the counter while the sink was piled with their dirty dishes. When I told them, please don't touch my things if I can't touch yours, they claimed they were worried the water from washing the dishes beside them would break the air fryer and crock pot. Yeah, it sounds like a crock. Told me it was unacceptable for me to keep my 2 bins of kitchenware unpacked out of the way against the wall for the first 5 days while I was busy at work or moving in, despite the apartment being so cluttered with their junk and having to be a certain weight to get through the back door, all with their stuff piled in front of it. When I asked to be informed about any guests coming over because I don't know them and it's my apartment too, they claimed they would text me the morning of and emphasized that's all they owed me. Never once have I gotten a text, and they have brought countless people over. Well, be petty, check your lease, and if it's more than is allowed, report it. Absolutely report it. Had an hour-long powwow, 2 against 1, where they were basically taking turns telling me how awful it was to live with me, i.e. not putting my 2 bins of kitchen stuff away within 5 days of moving in, and I think they said I was dishonest and extremely unpleasant to be around. I can't exactly remember why, because this was 2 months ago. And finally, a week ago, they claimed a maintenance request had been put in by them that morning, and a worker came by and told them that the apartment smelled like cannabis, and if it smells like that again, we will all be fined. Well, they should stop smoking weed then. I thought that was suspicious because 1, we are allowed to smoke in the unit, and 2, they both informed me of this together, while blocking me from leaving the conversation right in front of my doorway with yet another unprompted guest. Well, that is definitely antagonistic behavior. So I called the office and asked what I needed to do to protect myself, because I can prove if there truly was a complaint or report, it was not me who smoked. They told me no maintenance request was put in and nobody was at my apartment that morning, nor did anyone complain about a smell. They lied to my face. Then 2 days later, guess who I find using a cart indoors on the couch? My question is, given the history, am I somehow in the wrong? No, you've just moved in with a couple of jerks, that's what it is. They're related to used to having their own way, but they need the extra money to pay the rent because they chose to move into a place that was a bit too much for their purse. Like, I feel genuinely unsafe even walking downstairs to microwave dinner for 3 minutes. I try to be as fair as possible here with details, and honestly cannot think of one time I was rude or disrespectful to them. And that's the problem. You need to be. Make them feel your presence just by living there. My mom once said something about them not seeming nice on the front porch when I had first moved in, but I hushed her because I knew they had a Ring camera on the front door facing us. Turns out they were listening in on our conversation and used that as leverage against me during a fight we had. So maybe that... They wouldn't have heard it if they hadn't been listening in the first place, which is fucked up! Okay, so at the start of the story it says excited for them to move out. So it sounds like they will be gone soon, and you'll have the opportunity of getting some roommates who are... what's the word? Oh, human beings. That's it. Because right now you're living with a couple of catty bitches. And no one likes catty bitches. I mean, unless you're making yourself out to be an absolute angel here, which it doesn't sound like you are. I don't get that vibe at all. No, they sound like they sound insufferable. It's going to be the kind of situation where they can't keep any friends throughout their lives. There are going to be a couple of old hags in the nursing home with only each other. And by that point, they'll hate each other, but they'll be too afraid to be alone. And I love that for them. Story number 4. My roommate lives in the living room. Well, I know it's called that, but that's not really what that's for. By accomplished pay 5566. I'm 28 and female, and landed the most beautiful master with a beautiful home. Manager, probably like 50 female. She's renting to own. But after I signed the lease, I met the 3rd roommate, 51 and male, for the smaller room people didn't want, as the competition I beat out did not want it, and it's a huge downgrade from my room. I spend a lot of time in my room anyways because I have all my art stuff and it's a gorgeous room. Definitely the most beautiful one I've rented yet. But I've just left my ex-husband's home, so this was like a huge destabilizing shock for me. And I sort of thought or hoped that the roommate she spoke of beforehand was going to be anything other than what he is. I am particularly odd as I am an ambivert. Outside, I have to be an artist, extroverted. Inside my home, I recharge for the next one. I make a lot of money in a few hours, so I have time to focus on my craft, which I have also done well in. I just started my own small business, and I've got to build a studio in the house. Like, this life is a total dream Barbie-esque fantasy, except for the dude. So he's not a Ken, then. He, 51 male, was basically couch surfing for a year before the 50-year-old woman gave him a chance. He's definitely an alcoholic, as he is either watching TV or asleep in front of the TV. Then he complains about me making a snack at 2 a.m. Like I don't pay more rent than him. He literally reminds me of that one random dude on the couch that you wake up briefly to pass the joint to in comedies, like the movie Half-Baked. But he's worse because stoners are least likely to say stupid passive-aggressive shit, which he always does. He's made a lot of jokes about my age at my expense, in the sense of, "Oh, I thought you were like 50 like us, my bad." When I have people assuming I'm younger than I am most of the time. He sees your youth with so much potential ahead of you and so much accomplished already, and he knows he has failed at life. Perhaps. It's whatever, like that's how projection works. I think I look my age, but anyways, it's just like stuff you'd think a person would have outgrown a long time ago. I mean, if he had, he might not be couch surfing. Oh no, he pays rent to be on the couch. I'm aware his mental health must have to be in play. Also, I have my own shit. Oh, we all do. But he's definitely neurotypical. Sounds very bloody typical. I am ADHD and CPTSD. This matters because it's a huge part of why the safety I have within the home truly matters to me. He makes it feel like a less safe space, unfortunately. Although when I brought up my concern about living with a strange man, she insisted she trusts and believes him as to be a good person. She was upset with me because she felt I was being a young person judging, which isn't entirely false. Yes, but sometimes when we judge correctly. I am a young person judging, but bro is twice my age, man. You barely work enough to pay your bills. He doesn't even have hobbies. Like, come on. Alcoholism is real, but living next to a midlife crisis... Oh, I think he's a little past the midpoint. Of someone who is always killing the vibe by giving very sarcastic, funny answers? Which, yeah, sure, I'm not saying he's a whole villain. Nah, more like a henchman. But he's definitely a whole moocher. He'd be eating whoever's food he feels like, and he never stays in his room. Like, never. So he's got this small room then. Maybe we could lure him in with snacks and then just seal up the door? After 2 months of living there, the woman realized what I was trying to say. Oh, you mean all that shit he does? He uses all of her subscriptions, he uses her TV, he keeps complaining about not having a bed. He wants us to help him get it, at least he's not trying to get into either of your beds. The woman, the house manager, even wanted to give him her huge TV that we share in the studio just to get him the fuck out of the public space. This is ultimately her house, and she works from home too. Right, as you mentioned, she's renting to own. Right? Yeah. So to her, this is, oh, whatever, it's temporary. So it must be getting really bad if she's starting to take notice, because she's not expecting either of you to be there long term. I could just immediately tell this man is not grateful for what he has. And I hate living next to a person like that when I'm always being scrutinized by him for shit like stepping down the stairs too loud. He can't just come to me as an adult to say that. When I try to ask direct questions to clarify his very indirect answers, I walk away having no idea what the fuck we were talking about, even though the conversation should have ended on a note we were in the same page. So he has to go to the woman to ask me, a small 28-year-old woman, because me coming down the stairs inconveniences his 16 hours a day of watching movies, besides the part-time job he has, which is only 3 days a week. The rest of his waking hours are here, making me get in trouble with the house owner for stepping when she was treating me like I need to let him have a second chance in life. So I decided to suck it up, since for someone getting divorced I'm in a perfect situation to the T. Me and the woman are close, but that's her friend, you know? So I just have to let it be that. I'm really here just bitching because I know I can't do anything about it till my lease is up in a year. Please share your thoughts, opinions, experiences. Okay, I think there was some extra info, as I recall. Here we are. Oh man, where do I begin? The woman of the household and I got into a small argument the morning after I fell asleep and left a few of my dishes out. Normally I wash them immediately, and I take sleep medications for my ADHD's insomnia. The next morning she followed me from my bedroom to the kitchen when I had important matters at hand. I'm gonna back up the story a little more to try to paint a fair picture of the truth. I moved into her house to escape an abusive divorce situation. One night I got lost on the way to my new home. I'm going to leave out the name you mentioned, just for privacy reasons, after trying to de-escalate a fight between my ex and I. My phone died. I'm not from Texas. I'm from Oahu. Sorry, I just realized I have a series on my channel called Koahu. I just realized it sounded similar. Ignore me. It being I had freshly moved there, I got lost, as well as battling my ADHD and CPTSD. As my emotions were heightened, I can always sense when the mania is coming on, which is why I left his house. Like I take meds and medicate and do whatever I have to do to keep it under control. As I got lost, I was speeding. I had been lost in the middle of the night for 2 hours. Texas has a lot of semi-truck parking spots, and the exits in between are very far distances. I tried very hard to get back home safely. But when I got pulled over, I stepped out of the car with my hands up and my papers and wallet in hand. Yeah, they don't like it when you do that. The misstep here was not sitting in the car, but I was actually relieved at first. I stepped out and started explaining myself. I wanted help. Immediately the cops escalated. Yep. I dodged their attack on me out of reflex. They threatened to tase me, had their weapons up, etc. They committed police brutality upon me, even though I was calmly asking what was going on. I had never dealt with police brutality before. Oahu is not like this. I attribute my mental health and culture shock for this mishap. Oh yeah, if you're having a bad day, you can definitely count on American police to make it worse. Not all of them. There are good ones. I know beyond all doubt there are good ones. There might even be entire police departments that are good. But no one talks about them because they actually do their fucking job right. I end up in jail with scabs and bruises all over my body. Nobody knew where I was for 24 hours. My parents ignored my calls. Charming. I couldn't get my ex's number combination right from memory this whole time as well. Eventually, he did do a good job calling around and finding me, which I'm grateful for. I was out the next evening, nearly lost in the system. After about a week of being back, my ex and I had another argument. So while I'm teaching my student in the home studio Cassandra insists that I built, my ex and ex-friend called the cops on me on the premise of welfare check. They interrupted my lesson, my small business, and Cassandra comes bursting in saying the cops are here. I had been doing all the things they wanted me to do, so I immediately did not want to go outside, because I knew if I did, they could commit brutality again. Turns out this cop didn't even know about that. They just said, well, if you're okay, we'll be on our merry way now. Night and day. But Cassandra didn't take well to that, saying I brought the cops to her house. I vaguely know about her... Jesus. Being a low-level drug dealer. Her and that loser... again, we'll leave the names out, would talk about it together. They invited me into it initially, but I told them, this was before my little manic episode jail stint, I was too, going 3 years, California sober, and would rather just buy legal weed. So it makes sense they never brought it up again. Now we go back to the beginning of this story. She can't be a very successful drug dealer if she needs roommates. Not judging, just observing. The dishes, her following me around telling me every single little thing I'm doing wrong, which mind you was accidentally walking in her house with shoes on in a rush or a panic. Or forgetting to close the door to the shed she constantly let bang around in the wind. I finally snapped at her, when it was the dishes, somewhere along the lines of, "Oh God, this sauce and leftover rice in the bowl is the entire insect downfall of this house, right? Guess I can't do anything right." And she said, "Are you giving me attitude?" Well observed, love. Mind you, while she's nitpicking 3 of my dishes, her dirty mug was right next to it, which had been sitting there for at least a week. That dish led me to assume maybe she doesn't get feral over dishes or small mistakes. At this point of the dishes argument, I was on the way to the court to pay off some fines and talk to my ex for his information for the bondsman, and the contacts for the police and whatnot. Anyways, she starts yelling after being threatened that I clapped back. "Don't you ever give me attitude." She's close to 50 years old, I'm 28, I'm not her kid, we're both adults. I saw her emotional reaction and realized she's taking her other shit out on me, and this is about control she doesn't have over her own life, because her boyfriend of 10 years has been cheating on her the entire time, and she knows that. So a bad drug dealer and a shit lover. Anyways, immediately I de-escalated when I had this realization while she was yelling at me, that 1, she's sad about her own life, and 2, she's taking it out on me. So I apologized and hugged her and gave her a genuine sorry, took accountability and blame, and said I'll do better. I don't think she was happy for me for picking myself back up despite the suffering I already endured, and trying to move forward with my life, although she truly pretended to be a support system and constantly wanted to chat when I was home, when I needed to work on my crafts and heal through my pain alone. I mean, I pay rent there, right? How much is that to ask for other adults? She watched as he tried to leave me financially destitute to where I started my studio and small business, which immediately put me back into the green, after being the one running the household through the marriage. So, I had been knocked down multiple times. I got back up every time. It was my first time in jail ever. Well, let's hope it's the only one, yeah? I got brought in on the charge of interfering with police duties. They also found half a joint, which I bought legally, but Texas had just entered injunction. Well, I think we need to learn is, if you're pulled over by the cops, don't get out of the car because they hate that. And just like with vegetables, you have to finish your joints. Okay? Otherwise, no dessert. I got charged $500 for possession, around $2K for interference, and $300-ish for speeding. So when my ex got petty and called the cops on my house Tuesday, the dishes shit happened the next day, Wednesday, and the next day I didn't come back for 2 days. I needed a break from the mayhem. Very understandable. When I came back Thursday, she told me I had to leave the house for 2 days on that coming Sunday for exterminators. I was like, weird, but okay, because I was asking details about if it was being tented or not. In Hawaii, we'd have a lot of insects, so it's often you'd see the tenting. But those are more serious cases. This case was not all that serious, especially because growing up here, my mom would have exterminators come all the time, and they would basically maintain it, meaning the house didn't have to be in a tent, and we never had to leave the house or anything like that. So I was gone over the weekend. I stayed at my ex's house since my name is still on the lease and I'm without family thousands of miles away. Unfortunately, he was the closest thing I had to that. And at the very least, my name still being on the lease allows me the ability to not go homeless or spend money I didn't have on some exterminator's staycation. But when I tried to come back, as I had to work at the home studio that I again built, she suddenly sent this long essay about how my divorce and my marriage is fucking up her life. She spent those 2 days over the weekend calling on her loser boyfriend, the loser roommate, and whoever else to ransack my belongings, pack up everything in my room, damaging a lot of my precious items like photos of my dead best friend and paintings my little sister made me when she was a preteen, my own art books that I love. In this long text, she said she already changed the locks, threw my shit out. You have a lease, right? And my ex has to grab it. And she already called the cops and said whatever the fuck she said, but insinuated I would go back to jail if I came back. And she and her flying monkeys spent money on a storage unit and said if we wanted the code, that's extortion, had to pay them $300. I highly doubt they spent $300 on that small unit. It came off like she promised to pay all of those who helped ransack, rob, and extort me. I was at a loss. I decided that we would not pay them for my shit back, that I would treat this situation as if it was lost in a house fire. My family sent me that $300 to support me after realizing how much abuse I was going through, and that I was not overreacting. But I told them, you know what, is it okay if I just use the money to get myself my bare necessities? My ex, trying to regain my good graces, also taking it personal since Cassandra forced him into this trouble too, went back, picked the lock, grabbed the items I mourned the most. But I had only gotten back about 30% of my things, but he retrieved all of my most precious things, so I'm grateful for these times he showed up. He was abusive in an emotional way, cheating, lying, scheming, hiding, gaslighting, blah blah blah, insecurity and mental health shit. Since then, I'm back home for now. But unfortunately, this is just the rest period before I have to go back to court. I do not know if I want to stay in Texas. Fucking hell, don't. Go back to where your family is. You'll be much happier and you'll have a support system. In fact, I wish I never had to go back there again. Even though my career had begun to flourish, I haven't fully carved out my next steps. My career is growing, which I'm incredibly grateful for, as it's the only stability I've had to hold on to since this mess. My career can also be vital, so I've been able to keep working and creating financial stability even in being back home. I didn't realize that adults older than me could be that heinous for someone already trying to escape a horrible situation. Some people just suck. I mean, it's a very simple way to put it, but the fact is, the proper socialization and development, emotional maturity, you think it would come with time, but it just never reaches some people. I ended up having to live with my ex for a month and a half until my attorney finally confirmed a constantly changing court date. I'm only safe for now because I got the date from my attorney and I've been home for only 2 weeks now. My nervous system is still trying to learn how to settle. Oh, edit, she, the owner of the house, clapped back, "Don't you ever give me an attitude." Oh, don't you ever give me attitude, not me. Okay. Also, I was very consistent with the dishes, and this was maybe the second time dishes were left out. I normally give them a rinse at least too. Sleeping meds are very strong. I'm wondering if I should try quetiapine? Quetiapine? Drug names are sometimes confusing to me. I just started a new medication myself and I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't a dramatic amount of food is my point, and her and the male roommate always had dirty dishes around. I would even do their dishes sometimes to show respect or support for my gratitude of being there during a horrible time. You were paying the money, you didn't have to show them anything. I even started doing my dishes upstairs, keeping all my snacks upstairs. as he liked to eat everyone's food too, on top of voluntarily never using his bedroom for bedroom purposes. Well, you've been through a lot, and it's been a very turbulent time in your life. But the bright side is, you're just checking things off a list now at this point. Get the court stuff dealt with, then you don't have to go back. Get out and away from your ex, because while it sounds like he is supportive in some ways, he's certainly not good for you. You'll be away from that eventually. I would give some thought to moving closer to where your family is, because you're very far away from them, and it can be a lonely, lonely world if you don't have any kind of a support system. I'm glad to hear your career's picking up. I hope you can make a go of it, no matter where it is you end up settling, and that good things and good people happen to you from now on, because you certainly deserve it. You've been through a hell of a time. And fifth and final story today is this friendship with my roommate worth salvaging? By Prize Grapefruit 7221. This is a long story, but stick with me, please. I, 21 and female, live with 3 other girls, Abby, Riley, and Claire. 21, 20, 21, all female. Claire does not like to go out, but me, Abby, and Riley do. One night last year, Riley got pretty drunk and wanted to go home with this guy, but her phone was dead, and we told her it wasn't safe. Yeah, you didn't want her to end up like her phone. She tried to leave with him secretly a few times, but we redirected them. Overall, Riley was determined to go home with him. Big fan of the Danger D, I see. Another friend suggested that Riley and the guy come to our shared apartment instead. So Riley could charge her phone and it would be safer. Me and Abby said yes, not thinking much of it, but we just wanted to make sure she was safe. So Riley, Abby, and I went back to our apartment, and the guy left an hour later. The next morning I was telling Claire about what happened, and she burst into tears. She was really upset that there was a man in our apartment while she was sleeping and she didn't know about it. Pretty understandable. We had a roommate meeting and talked about the incident. Riley and Claire did not see eye to eye about it, but Riley agreed to not bring a guy over again without notice. So, what should be standard in all flatting situations? Claire said she had broke her trust and caused her a lot of anxiety, which we all understood and apologized for. Oh, I don't think Riley understood. The next few weekends, when we went out, Claire would text me and Abby, her friendship with Riley was kind of over at that point, about what time we were coming home, and that she didn't trust that we wouldn't bring a guy home with us. Oh, Jesus Christ, girl, settle down. We reassured her, but she stayed up in the living room until we got home, when we walked in the door, and she would go upstairs without saying anything to any of us, in tears. Because you did or didn't bring guys home? What does she want here? I'm confused. A few weeks after the incident, Claire was giving me and Abby the silent treatment. Very mature. When I asked her privately if she wanted to talk, she said that we didn't seem to care about what happened anymore. Because it's done and dusted, it was spoken about and resolved. Because we were still going out. And when me, Abby, and Riley, all of us, were laughing like nothing had happened, it made her upset. Oh, because you're not punishing Riley appropriately. She said she had lost trust in me and that she needed space. Well, a bit difficult to breathe in space, but fair enough if that's what she wants. So for the next 2 months, me and Claire did not really talk, despite living in the same room. Then one day she texted me and said that she actually did trust me. Pass. When we talked about it in person, she said the 3 of us made her feel weird for not drinking. Girl, that's on you. When I asked how we did that, she said she didn't know, and it wasn't anything specific. She just felt that way. And after that we started talking more, but our relationship was definitely strained, and not as close as it was before. Yeah, it sounds like... Okay, admittedly, Riley fucked up. in her desire for a little bit of companionship. But I think most of the damage here is being done by Claire. It's amazing how someone can go from being the victim to being the villain so easily. Okay, now we are living in different rooms. Me in my own room and Claire and Abby in another. Riley moved out. I have a friend who doesn't live close to downtown like I do, so when we go out I offer to let her sleep in my room with me. Oh, I hope you're asking permission. Which is private and not shared anymore. Whenever I ask the group chat if my friend can stay over, Claire asks a lot of questions about what we're doing, where we'll be in the apartment, and is always very reluctant and defensive. It makes me resent her because she's trying to have control over the entire apartment and who is in it, yet she's making her damage everyone else's problem, even if it's just a friend in my own room. If she's not in class, she's on the couch in the living room studying because she doesn't leave much. So it feels like she's taking over the common spaces as well. She talks to me and Abby like she's our parent and not a fellow roommate. You need to disabuse her of that notion, toot sweet. I understand that she has anxiety about her boundaries being crossed, but I don't think me wanting to have a friend that she has met before over is crossing them. I'm starting to really resent her and her need for control over everything, and it's making me not want to talk to her at all. Should I bring this up as her friend, or do I just let it go until she moves out and I don't have to see her anymore? Is this fixable? Well, do you want to fix it? That's what you need to ask yourself. Does she bring enough value into your life as a friend? Do you feel enriched in her company? Is her personality so engaging that you just have to be around her? Worth enough that it's worth saving the friendship? If so, then yeah, maybe you need to have a chat, but she doesn't sound like a reasonable person because the situation prior with Riley was already spoken about and resolved. It was a fuck up, it happened, it's done, moved on. It didn't happen again, it sounds like. Sounds like reasonable accommodations were being made at that point. The fact is, she's letting her own anxieties dictate how everyone else lives their life, and it sucks that she feels that anxiety. It really, really does. But that's for her to manage. You can only be expected to do so much before it becomes unreasonable, and it's already descended into unreasonable territory. That's just my opinion, as I don't know her. I have no emotional attachment toward her. You do, because you've been living with her. You've considered her a friend. So you need to sit down with yourself and have a quiet little chat. Not out loud. They might lock you up if you do that. But ask yourself, is the friendship worth saving? Is it still a friendship? And if the answer is yes, then you might have to make some concessions. If it's no, great. She's a ghost until you move out. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. If you'd like to support this channel, you can sign up for my Patreon page. That'll cost you $1 or more a month. You pay what you feel to get early access to all the videos at once on Monday. There are links in the description to my Discord server, my Threads account, as well as my merchandise store, if you'd like to get mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, that sort of thing. And my email is kingofthecities@gmail.com if you need to contact me for shoutouts, sending in a story, or you have any business-related inquiries, or just whatever, really. That's everything for now, so until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. I'm gonna go make some dinner. Bye-bye. Wow, that was a long one. That's what Riley probably said.